Chai After Dark includes adult language and NSFW content. If you have auntie sensibilities or uncle sensibilities, this podcast may not be for you.
Hey, potty people, it is your captain speaking, Captain Ron, here from greatpods.co. And how do you do? We set up a prize for you cool listeners. The first two people that email us, chaiafterdark@chaiafterdark.com, and let us know which episode is your favorite so far, and you get a Chai After Dark t-shirt. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and most importantly, share Chai After Dark with your friends. Hot off of Sweet Bobby's episode and our last episode of Indian Matchmaking Season 1, we are taking on HBO's documentary, Breath of Fire, a 4-part series revealing docuseries chronicling the shocking secret history of Kundalini Yoga and the evolution of one of its most prominent leaders. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Breath of Fire. Let's start the show. Hey, what's up, everybody? It is your captain speaking, Captain Ron at your service. It is Chai After Dark.
Chai.
Joined by my lovely co-host, we got ST Shubnum. What's up?
Hey.
And
Yogi.
we also got Sam, Mimi, Samim. What's up?
Yogi Sam, that's my new
Yogi
name.
Bear.
Yogi Sam. I wonder what Dawson would say about this episode. Anyway, we got a really great
Fire.
special Yoga Breath of Fire. That's
Yoga
what it is.
Flame.
Cool. Okay. We got the special episode right now. We're covering
Breath of Fire,
that.
episode
Okay.
1. Yeah.
Shubnam, what's your story? What's going on?
Well, I am currently at my friend Brida's house.
We're your only
because-
friends. What the hell?
I know. I'm cheating on you guys. I have one more friend, and I'm recording from her house because after this, we are going to an event nearby where I am going to hang out with our very good podcast bro, Vyasar, because he's here
Oh.
for a book launch of his friend, Nina Sharma, who's sharing her book with everybody in Palo Alto. And her book is called The Way You Make Me Feel, Love in Black and Brown.
Our boy Vyasar,
So-
season 1, Indian Matchmaking. Go back and
Exciting.
listen to
Yeah.
those episodes.
Yeah, and we're gonna have him on the episode tomorrow after you guys listen to this. So
Say that. It's pretty exciting. Wow.
yeah.
To me, you're
saying you don't sound
you
excited
look
at
like
all.
You're excited.
Me? You don't think I sound excited? I'm
We're gonna
excited.
drop it
Samim
tomorrow.
was like,
The episode's going to come out tomorrow.
Sometimes I'm just a chill person, okay?
I thought it's the most exciting episode yet.
Yeah. No, it's going to be
Uh,
great. I'm also excited about our weekend, and I'm excited about a lot of things. you know?
yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going to have a good weekend
We're
this
gonna-
weekend.
We're going
all
to make
three
some
of us.
TikToks, dress up for Halloween, take some pics.
Spooky.
Yeah, all the Halloween parties are this weekend because I think Halloween lands on a Thursday this year. So
Yeah.
everybody, I guess, is doing that. Samim, what's up with you?
I'm doing what you guys are doing. I'm going to see you at this Halloween party.
What's been going on since the last episode?
Me and Samim went to go see Russell
Yeah,
Peters
we-
together.
Oh,
I was hanging.
Oh.
Same shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So Samim, as soon as I picked him up from the airport, he told me to pull over. My driving was unacceptable in the first 1 minute. And he told me to pull over and for me to get out and him to drive. So then he drove. And then I texted my husband like for support, being like, can you believe Samim just made me pull over? And then he texted me back, smart guy. I was like,
That's
what
right.
the hell?
wait.
That's
So
right.
time out. You really did hand over the car to Samim?
Yeah.
Right outside the Oakland
Were you
airport.
that
so...
afraid of her driving?
No, dude.
It's-
Yes.
You guys give an example.
Yes.
What happened? What was the last straw?
The last straw
Let's
was
throw Shabnam under the bus
Uh,
right now.
no, actually. ironically, you were involved in the last straw because we were like picking you up in Redwood City like 10 years ago. And Shubnam, I think you had like just gotten Instagram or something. You were so excited about it. You just couldn't get your hands off the fucking phone while you were driving. So this started 10 years back. This is a decade old. My fear has only intensified after getting picked up in Oakland by this crazy driver. She was also swerving through multiple lanes.
No, I
Like,
wasn't.
pull
I
over.
didn't swerve through. No, okay. The
She didn't swerve.
Instagram
She
thing,
didn't
it was Facebook, but we were literally on Imran Street in front of the apartment that he lived in. And I was going at 3 miles an hour. I was just literally checking one thing before we start actually driving.
You didn't need to be checking
the fact
that
that Sameem remembers 10 years ago, he's been
was scary
holding
as
it
shit, dude.
since up until this point. 10 years? Garrett got catfished for 10 years, but you got bad driving habits for 10 years? Holy crap.
It was too
I
much.
got, yeah. I have a
No, but
grudge
then
being held against me.
we did go to Russell Peters that night, which was hilarious. But
And who
we went
drove
to
then?
dinner first.
Oh, yeah.
I drove to Russell Peters. So we drove to dinner, and we get to this dinner. It's like a nice restaurant, and it's in Pleasanton, California, where everybody is like one of 3 different demographics. And Shabnam, you and I didn't belong. So we like walk in. The hostess is like trying to get us into this like corner area where it's like nobody there, and she's like, "This area is a lot more intimate."
Yeah, and I started laughing. I was like, "We're not together."
I was like, "Put us with everybody else." So she put us like into
Yeah.
the middle of everyone else.
Yeah.
And then
the other thing that was interesting about the Pleasanton dinner was they were like oppressively, aggressively forcing birthdays on us. One person in the restaurant had a birthday, and they put that birthday song on the speaker of the entire restaurant, and you couldn't even hear or have a conversation over it. I was like, do we all need to be part of this one person's birthday? Like, what the hell? And then Sameem made a joke to the waiter. He's like, it's her birthday too. I was like, it's not my birthday.
Oh, he would have brought it, dude. He would have brought the songs and the cake.
Your story about the birthdays immediately reminds me of Subway Takes. Kareem is really funny on those Subway Takes. This one is very relevant because Hassan Minhaj just released. Here it is. Okay.
This is a note to all restaurants. Stop singing happy birthday to adults.
100% disagree.
Wait, what?
What? I want it.
If you're at a Mexican restaurant and you're making adults sing to you, it's embarrassing for everybody involved. No, they're getting paid. What are you, medieval lord? Get out of here. It's embarrassing for the staff.
No, they like it.
They hate.
Okay, so you guys,
you sent that to us earlier this week, and that's what made me think of it. I was like, seriously, dude, that was like oppressive.
Yeah. All right. This week, we're catching a brand new documentary that hits the South Asian diaspora, and we are going to dissect it, commentate it, and it is the HBO Max's documentary that just came out called Breath of Fire. Breath of Fire is an American documentary series directed and produced by Haley Pappas and Smiley Stevens. No. Okay, shut up. It follows the line. Hey, Smiley, did you turn in your homework?
Is that a Desi name, Smiley? Because I feel like that's definitely like Pinky, Smiley.
It reminds me of the radio DJ down here on K Earth. His name was Shadow Stevens. So that was cooler. Shadows is cooler, but Smiley? You're right. I have no idea.
There's also an expert on Sikh history in here. Their name is Sandeep Morrison. So there's all kinds of multi-ethnic, interesting names.
In this particular story, it follows the life and career of Guru Jagat, additionally exploring the history and origins of Kundalini
yoga.
Kundalini yoga. Why does it have to happen now?
30 seconds in.
You're trying to make it desi. You're like Kundalini or something. And I'm like, no, it's just it's fine. We can just say Kundalini.
I know. I would look watching this and saying it over and over again myself. I was like, oh yeah, this is easy. And then of course, right now I had to like just
it's easy. It's easy. It's like Kundalini. Just replace it with a K.
As what?
It's like a pasta. It literally sounds like a pasta.
Yeah, Kundalini.
Okay, and so Breath of Fire,
Rigatoni, Kundalini.
it had its world premiere at Tribeca Festival in June and premiere on HBO. The series explores the life and career of Guru Jagat, Kundalini yoga teacher whose spiritual empire has faced accusations of abuse. It starts off with reality is a trance.
Reality is a trance of your own making or someone else's making who doesn't have your greatest good in mind. And then this entire documentary is based on a Vanity Fair article called The Second Coming of Guru Jagat. The whole first 10 minutes or so of this is really just introducing us to a bunch of these white women characters who joined and decided to follow Guru Jagat, who's born Katie and then became Katie Kundalini and then became Guru Jagat.
It was the chosen. She was the chosen one.
Supposedly, yeah.
Supposedly.
And then it goes into this little piece of what is Kundalini. So it's made up of 3 things: movement, chanting, and breath work. And and I feel like that was a very kind of revolutionary to this audience. But literally, if you think about all Asian, South Asian religions, all of them have movement, chanting, and some sort of breath work. If not, I think maybe this has more extensive breath work. But so that was interesting to me because I was like, this is just kind of normal desi stuff.
Yeah,
right?
when you take into account all the variations of yoga, you take into account the variations of breathing exercises, they are somewhat same. And I even asked our friend Ritu, so hey Ritu, what's up? She goes to a lot of different yoga sessions, and I asked her about, because she had gone through Vipassana, but it's kind of always around that same thing where it's extreme the practice. And so I asked her about Kundalini yoga, and she had just actually come back from a session from that on Monday. So I was like, this is very interesting. And while she says that it can be intense, that Vipassana is probably more intensive as far as breathing exercise and breathing yoga and so on. And it's actually not as bad as certain people or cults or certain people in leadership push to capitalize on these exercises. You brought this up with Indian matchmaking about the song choices and song usage. This one starts off with the Naked and Famous song, Youngblood. And the lyrics pertain, they do have, although you can barely hear it, the lyrics themselves actually set a tone, right? We're only young and naive still. We require certain skills. The mood, it changes like the wind, hard to control when it begins. The bittersweet between my teeth, trying to find the in-between, fall back in love eventually. Yeah. After watching that and then looking up the lyrics, I'm like, yeah, okay, this all makes sense. And I like the way they kind of piece things together as an art form and in documentary in general. So that's something that I was connecting to on that front, on a production side of things. We get introduced to 5 patrons initially for the documentary: Nicole, Jules, Elizabeth, Charlotte, Amanda. Thank you.
So they're part of Kundalini Katie, aka Guru Jagat's circle. Right. So one of them, actually, Elizabeth, she says this funny thing. She's the one from New York. She says she was ready to go to Harry Potter school when she came to,
I don't know what that was.
Yeah, that was I was like, okay, there was some funny things in here. And then she says when you walk into the studio, it smells like sweat and Palo Santo burning. And everybody wore white and white turbans to cover their head chakra. And that sometimes they'd feel like passing out. And she'd be like, go to the light.
She was doing extensive breathing exercises.
Right. But then eventually they circle back to the history, where did she come from and how did she get here? Right. And so then we get this backstory of Yogi Bhajan. So Yogi Bhajan is a Punjabi Sikh man from what's present-day Pakistan, and he came to the US in 1968. And he claims that this form of yoga is ancient, powerful, and previously untaught in the open. So his followers are like these white men and women from the 60s. And so they kind of draw this parallel of the 60s to the 2010s of like having this sort of like common disillusionment with American culture that the young people have in both those times. And that Yogi Bhajan basically brought discipline to these like hippies that were all like into drugs and stuff like that. But Yogi Bhajan reminds me of an uncle that you and I knew growing up, Sameem.
No, I know. I was like literally thinking that when it started. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
look, but being in the Bay Area, like hippie culture is alive and well. You know, with Grateful Dead, the 60s and 70s, Haight-Ashbury, you know, that whole culture that was out there. And that just brings me back looking at the older folks being interviewed. I'm like, yeah, okay, I totally get your side because of the 60s, 70s, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, like vibe that everybody was going through. And it kind of aligned with that hippie culture. But it was interesting to hear the younger ones of this generation and then the 60s and 70s all talk about the same disillusionment. And also there's something in their life that is really taking a turn. Nicole was saying that she was seeking something. Elizabeth went through a bad breakup. So everybody had some problem or major breakup, something like that happening in life that this version Kundalini like came into their life being like, I'm going to try this yoga.
Yeah. One of the girls actually mentioned that she was just turning 30, right? So it kind of brings me back to like what we talked about in Sweet Bobby too. It's like 30, I think for women is like this time where it's like, you know, a life crisis moment, right? And so she was like looking for community, looking for support. And I think a lot of people look for that in these sort of like spiritual contexts, like whatever they are. And it's really easy for it to turn sour, I think.
Yeah. And if you're providing some sort of community, which is, I think, the most common word used when somebody goes down a different, like a cultish type of route is, well, they're providing community. What are you doing to help them? Right. It always comes down to like, well, they found their tribe, they found their community, they found their people.
Yeah, those white men and women from the 60s that joined Yogi Bhajan, what was interesting about them is that one of them said something about how like he brought discipline to this kind of like hippie time, right? And I think once you add discipline to people that are like knowledgeable and aware about what's going on, it's not very good for the powers that be. And there's actually disclosed unclassified documents about how governments actually use drugs to dampen those kinds of movements where there is a lot of discipline in people that are aware.
It's well known in the era, the 80 or the Reagan era or pre, where they
pre-Reagan, post, like the civil rights era,
African American communities. Like it's well documented and out there. So,
I thought hippies didn't need like any sort of like push to take a bunch of drugs, but I think even Katie came back in and she was like, I'm gonna say Katie, by the way.
Yeah, it is better for me to remember Katie.
Yeah,
Kundalini
Katie Guru comes in. Yeah, oh yeah, we could say that too. That's Kundalini Katie. She even said these people are amazing. They have every like artistic ability. They have every creative ability. They have every outlet they can imagine. And her take was that they were more ruining themselves on drugs. You know? Like, and their take would probably be like, no, the drugs make me creative. So I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, but were the hippies first? Or were they drugs first and then they became hippies? Like, we weren't around back then. I don't know. It goes hand in hand probably, but
I think it's a powerful thing to bring discipline to people that are like more aware and attuned to like what's happening around them. I think like if all you do is like constantly intoxicate yourself, then you're going to be more influenceable, right? While you're under the influence.
Maybe that's how he was able to do it. Like he can say, I want you off drugs, but
look, for example, a 30-year-old one that said like, hey, I used to take poppers, I took pills, I had like whatever, and she would do that all day or whatever.
Okay, I'm not a big drug person. What is a popper?
Pill poppers, uppers.
Oh, okay. So like,
Wait,
okay.
what is a
or
popper?
MDMA
Now I
or
don't know.
ecstasy or something.
All
I
the
wouldn't
only
know.
poppers I know are jalapeno
Or those?
poppers.
Oh,
I
No,
like
those
those.
peppers that you
I'm
throw on
just
the
kidding.
ground.
I'm just kidding.
So she was
Like
stuffing herself with jalapeno poppers left and right, you know?
And
Have
they
you ever
made
had
her
a
lightheaded. They made her
Yeah.
lightheaded,
Dude,
just
it
like
would make me
Kundalini yoga.
lightheaded. Shoot, if you had like really good jalapeno poppers, man, that stuff is crack.
They may give me some other issues, not lightheaded. I don't feel it in my head. I feel it in my tummy.
Okay. Before we dive into diarrhea, let's go into
I didn't say anything about diarrhea. God.
Okay, fine. Take some Pepto.
Every episode has to have some diarrhea in it, I guess.
From now on. Excuse me, I got to go to the bathroom. But the pills involved are the uppers. This Kundalini would provide the non-drug aspect of it, and she got off of drugs, obviously. I mean, you can assume that she did by going through this yoga practice and cleaning her system out. Now, they also discuss how Kundalini was being portrayed in marketing and up there, like, for example, bringing up Russell Brand. And in my head, I'm like, I'm not sure he's the right person to be listening to these last. In my head, knowing what we know about him now, it's like, oh man, this guy.
And they went through the history with Yogi Bhajan first, right? And Yogi Bhajan started an organization called 3HO, which was healthy, happy, and holy. Okay, which is, I cannot think those three words without hearing an old Desi man go, healthy, happy, and holy. Like my dada used to tell us, "Khao pio esh karo." Like that's how I think of it. Like, which that means eat, drink, and have fun. But this like healthy, happy, holy, it had the same vibe to it, right? And so he said basically he has his own like commune. They started these different sort of commune type organizations throughout different places in the country, and all these people would come together to create this new society, right? And this went into when Guru Jagat kind of took over. They had these important dates, and the important dates were Yogi Bhajan's birthday, the winter and summer solstice, and then some kind of like survival camps where they were like going hardcore into like, I don't know, like learning how to like fight and shit. And then like some women's camps, which
I would say self-defense. It looked like self-defense, even though they're holding up the pistol.
But then they went into doing security, even internationally, and
they were
called
diversifying
it
the portfolio.
They called it Akal security, which I'm like, is that like Akal, like your brain?
I know.
Like,
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. What is Akal? Okay, but maybe that means something else in Punjabi that I don't know.
Timeless, eternal being.
That's what it means, Akal?
At least that's what Google said. Punjabi word Akal. Like Sat Sri Akal.
Oh, okay. Okay, now it makes sense. That must mean something better than just smart, like our brains, right? Okay, got it.
Samim, how do you say it?
I thought it was like Akal. Oh, Sat Sri Akal. I know how to say that now.
Okay.
So I think it's Akal. I think Akal must be different than Akal.
Yeah.
It must be two different words.
Well, I did it with one A.
You guys were talking about the healthy threes. What was it? Health
3HO.
3HO. That's an amazing branding thing. Yeah.
Since we're on the subject of 3HO, Philip Deslippe or Deslip, I apologize.
Dilip uncle?
Philip. The religious,
Dilip
uncle.
Yeah.
A religious historian. He's a yoga historian as well. I looked him up, so I had to double check his credentials
Philip
as well. But he wrote a 2012 article from Maharaj to Mahan Tantric, the construction of Yogi Bhajan's Kundalini Yoga. And that was from 2012. He had mentioned where it was at Pico and Robertson. And I immediately looked up 3HO on Google Maps.
Does it still exist?
Yeah, so it's still there?
No, Google Maps shows as permanently closed. At least the LA office. And what else did I see? It's the name on the building says Sikh Dharma. So as in Sikhism,
it became
not
like a religious center.
S-I. So it became like, something like that. So Sikh Dharma. And so I'm not sure if that's open or not, but it's...
They're like, let's buy this place and cleanse it of like this Yogi Bhajan BS.
Yeah, but it's in Mid-City, next to Beverlywood, which is another neighborhood, but it's just 1 to 2. That's like 1 to 2 neighborhoods away from Beverly Hills. And for some reason, I think that part of town always has some weird shit going on. I can't tell you what, but in my head, I'm thinking in the past, if I had time to go research, I could probably figure like you have to be near rich white people.
Oh no, he had
Right.
to be there. Well, where else would he
Yeah.
have gone? Where was
Where's
it
the
in New
rich
friendship
York?
gonna
Because
come
he
from?
Are rich white people always looking for something?
From this documentary, this first episode kind of laid it out a little bit, where they're all celebrities and people coming to
Yeah.
these practices.
Yeah.
So where else better to do it than near Beverly Hills? Like,
Well, I also
you have a
think
good location.
Yeah, I also think if you're not struggling financially, if you have plenty, you have a free time to think about how to fulfill yourself. I mean, I don't think people that don't have water are worried about their feelings. They're more just trying to like get water.
Yeah, they're trying to
So,
hustle and stay alive, right?
yeah. So you probably want to, if you're doing something like this, go to a place where there's people that are able to like explore their inner wants and like, spirituality and stuff like that, so that, you can make money off of them.
Yeah. I think if I'm ever in that area, I will do a drive-by and I'll take a picture for the pod for the upcoming episodes. I'll do a selfie. Hey, permanently closed. What's up?
So by the way, I've been to
yeah.
4 Kundalini yoga classes.
Go on.
Why don't you bring that up earlier? Why are you bringing it
what
up
the hell?
48 minutes in?
Yeah.
So during COVID, a friend of mine was like, Kundalini yoga is amazing. Let's go to Kundalini yoga. And so I was like, okay, I'll try it. Like, I like yoga. I do yoga for stretching and like, obviously the breathing is helpful, but I do it more for stretching and to maintain flexibility so that I can like continue to do other workouts. But I went to Kundalini and I was expecting a similar experience, but Kundalini is very just exclusively like breath focused. So you don't really get stretching. So I didn't get what I look for in yoga out of it. But, the person that I was going with was like swearing by it. So I went back like 2, 3, like maybe 3 to 4 times to give it a chance. And I was like, this isn't for me.
Do one of the chants.
Acupuncture for me.
I don't even remember the chants,
But
it was
you
very.
have to chant?
Yeah, you have to chant. You sit and you chant, and then it's like you imagine your third eye chakra, and then your like I forget what they call it, like your
Third
pelvic
eye
chakra. Yeah, I know like people that swear by it, but it just wasn't for me at all.
They said it was like trying to take Sikh, but without the God aspect. So they want to be connected to something. It's not God. And that's where the chanting and the breath work comes in. So if you're stretching, yeah, that's not going to be enough for you to connect with a higher being. But that's kind of what they kept referring to is like, we want to make this yoga so we can still connect with some spiritual nature or being, but it's not God. Did you guys pick up on that? Like it was supposed to be like a different kind of connection.
And they're appropriating Sikh religion and then watering it down into some kind of new age spirituality. And the Sikh expert, Sandeep Morrison, was getting like really offended by that, right? Even the way that Kundalini Katie wore the turban was very offensive because like her hair's sticking out. It's not actually like covering her hair the way that Sikhs wear it.
This is the phrase that always gets me. This is from like a couple of years ago. If you remember the white girl wearing the Southeast Asian dress outfit. And the phrase is, my culture is not your prom dress. Like this speaks to me, although this thing was invented by a Sikh gentleman, but now it's like taking over in the sense that I just feel that statement rings true, is that they're wearing it like it's a prom dress. I'm probably wrong.
It seems like two different things potentially. I mean, I don't think like wearing like Indian garb, or if I wore a sombrero, or if you wore like a kimono or something out, even though we're not that culture, I feel like it's because think about it like this. We've been to so many Desi weddings. We've been to so many South Asian events. When white people or other people wear a shalwar kameez and they get excited and they try, it's actually a beautiful thing. And I get excited when I go to a wedding and they're wearing, but for her to make money off this shit, I totally understand. This is completely
It's not
scenario.
that it's like, I totally agree. The prom thing is totally different. It's not that she's wearing it. It's that she's disrespecting a cultural symbol and pretending to be a guru, right? Yeah. And she's borrowing certain aspects and claiming that she's coming from a tradition when she wasn't really coming from a tradition at all. She's just making all this BS up.
Yeah.
because this Kundalini practice is elements of Sikhism, Hinduism, and Buddhism, right? Those are elements taken from those religions to make this spiritual yoga practice or breathing exercise from it. So it's interesting on how we walk the line, how they walk the line. I found that kind of interesting as a discussion point.
Well, the other thing is that I think, like, you know, this is just the first part of the documentary, and having watched like a crap ton of these documentaries, I feel like all the juicy stuff is usually towards the end. But I think the reality is this goes very wrong, right? And it's because she's using these symbols to give herself credibility and then manipulate everyone, right? Like that's a problem. So whether or not there's other contexts where people like take stuff from other cultures and try it on or enjoy it for what it is, it's like, this is more malicious. She's actually manipulating
when capitalism
people.
hits you, it hits you hard. When you're like,
I mean, she even did a podcast.
Yeah,
she even did a film podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
I was
crazy.
trying to find
like
it initially. I was like, do I even care enough to really find
dude,
it?
It's kind of funny though. It's like you have this person that comes out of nowhere, essentially represents herself as like a being that can not only enlighten you, but can also show you the way from a completely different culture than hers. But then I don't understand how like Instagram and Russell Brand and Alicia Keys, then it's like you've already lost your way, because how can, if you're connecting with like a very old method of connecting with this being, like this yoga was never taught in the Western world until Yogi Berra came in the 60s.
Yogi Bhajan.
Yogi Berra or Yogi Bear? The baseball player or the cartoon? Which one?
That's my bad. I was not trying to do that on purpose. Yogi Bhajan.
Too late.
Came in the 60s. But it's so obvious. Like, it reminded me of the MLM schemes, right? Like, every time you see the actual MLM scheme, what's an MLM scheme? Like, I don't even know.
Multi-level marketing.
The original Tupperware.
Avon.
Yeah. Avon, Tupperware, and there's so many new ones. But
Amway.
Sorry. Amway's the big one, yeah. MLM. Multi-level marketing scheme. But I don't know if people were giving him money, so I don't know if it's an MLM or not.
Well, he did say that I came to this country with $35 and then now I paid that many thousands of dollars in taxes, I think, but I'm not going to tell you how rich I am.
Oh, and there's pictures of him in his Porsches or cars, like fancy cars and stuff like that. So, and this is something we've seen in all these documentaries. It's always the same thing. They just capitalize and exploit these practices, obviously for gain,
and they were giving money.
Vikram is one of those people too.
Yeah.
Dilip uncle, he says at the end of this documentary that the greatest way to describe Kundalini Katie and Guru Jagat is that she's a photocopy of a counterfeit, because Yogi Bhajan was a counterfeit too. And that was really interesting because he basically says Yogi Bhajan's kind of like a con artist. Like, he also kind of was just trying to use his culture and charisma to make money off of people. The way I see Katie Kundalini is that she is the Christopher Columbus of yoga.
It actually makes sense. Carbon copy or photocopy of a photocopy does lighten up a lot. So she did go from Yogi Bhajan to the whitest woman on earth, Katie Goggins. That's not her name. Katie.
You get Katie Griggs.
Griggs, yeah.
Guru Jagat.
So we're also giving context. They go through Woodstock and how these teachers, you were talking about the expansion, the scaling up of this practice in the 60s, 70s, going from 50 to 100 to 150. They were also at Woodstock in 1969, and it's in the Woodstock documentary as they show us, and they were doing practices sessions there led by white people doing the yoga. So it was very interesting to see the young generation, and I guess that works with their thesis of like how those 60s, 70s were the same as these 2010s of the situation. It may not be Vietnam War, but it's like climate change is worrying people. There's Women's March happening. So you have these cultural things happening in our society where people are looking for meaning, because oftentimes, and I feel like, over there versus now, as politicians and government, they're just not listening. And so where do you turn to, and how do you calm yourself? And yoga does help in general, but that's how this type of spirituality kind of gets a hold of a society or a group of people.
Yeah,
Ultimately.
basically, like what you're getting at is there was this feminist element to this movement, right? And that started with Yogi Bhajan, and then Katie Kundalini took it even further, and her taking it further coincided with the Me Too movement, which really made it totally blow up.
Right time, right place. Yeah.
Right. But it was interesting because they said that Yogi Bhajan would choose basically people from his organization as leaders for these like sub organizations. So we talked about that Akal Security and other things like that. Other sort of
Yogi
like side
T.
business ventures.
You cannot forget Yogi T, because I just wanted to be really mad at that.
Yeah, and I loved how they showed
it.
the person whose like foot, who like had the like teacup on their foot in, because they were doing like a crazy yoga pose, and like it was crazy. But
Right.
the interesting thing about this uncle, Yogi Bhajan uncle, is that he had all the like women in these positions around him. So they kind of made this, like you said, like MLM, but it's like spiritual MLM or pyramid scheme, where like the people at the top were the ones that were closest to the spiritual figure and they were seen as more spiritual, but he kept picking women. And it's like this old Dixie uncle's like has all these women running the thing. It's like, apparently it wasn't suspicious to some of these like progressive white guys because they were just cool with it. But like,
wait, it was or wasn't?
One of the guys,
Peter
one of the guys was like, one of them said it was sus, and then another one was like, I thought it was odd, but I was kind of cool with it or whatever, right? And it's like,
one wrote his company over to him.
Akal Security.
Yeah,
that was Akal Security.
He gave
He's
up
like, I
whole
gave him all the
company,
shares and everything.
All the shares. He gave it to Yogi Bhajan.
That's another thing, I think, like between a cult and like, maybe just like a spiritual community, is like if you're giving away all of your something.
Yeah. Or
it
even
sounds like a cult.
Donating
is one thing, but
you have a cult leader that's
donating to the
wealthy,
organization.
then what are we doing? If you're wealthy, then what's going on? Like it's just weird because some of these people obviously had companies, but the vast majority of them, like we said in the beginning of the episode, they were looking for something. They were desperate.
Yeah, and these guys started from scratch because they're not working or having any jobs, these groups. So they created, they're small business owners now. They start up these multi-conglomerates too. Like they built these businesses. That's like the American dream, but they hand everything off, not to the group. They hand it off, at least what is assumed, what I picked up from the document. They're giving it to Guru himself. Like
Yogi Bhajan.
Yogi Bhajan. They're giving it to him, not like the organization, so that way the nonprofit would benefit from it. No, it's going to him directly. Like, dude, what's up with you? Like, why are you doing that? So that on that front was like, that was a red flag.
Yeah, and you see that with Katie too. They said like at one point, just their TV subscriptions at its peak were pulling in $380,000 a month. Okay, and so it's like, these are massive profit revenue generating endeavors. It's not like they're doing this like for the greater good of someone.
It's the time old tale, right? Like even like, let's say a podcast is popular, you're gonna have merch, right? But that's a lot different, right? You're not screwing anyone, but you accumulate the users first. But like if we accumulate users and they buy our merch, it's a lot different than, okay, I'm giving you my spiritual awareness, I'm giving you every part of my aura, I'm opening up to you in ways I've never opened up to anybody, and then he's like, sign your company over to me. Like it's just pretty wild. Like it's so obvious a scam.
Maybe they're into something. Maybe we should try a chai yoga retreat.
Yeah, no thanks.
No,
okay. Hey, we are not anti-yoga at all.
Maybe a chai cult. I'm sure we can start a chai cult.
I need some chai.
Man. No, okay.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you guys say that, because this kind of reminds me of, the Sweet Bobby catfishing thing too. It's like there's this whole spiritual abuse aspect here, and manipulation and taking advantage. And you see that catfishing is just a small scale of that. This is like he scaled the catfishing.
Cult fishing.
Cult fishing, yeah.
Cult fishing. They're starting restaurants, the Golden Temple restaurant, which was super popular, apparently, granola bars. And the two things that fascinated me was Yogi Tea, the brand Yogi, That was like, holy crap. It was in every startup in the Bay Area when I was there, as far as
Yeah,
like
same.
tea bags and everything. There's like some
Yeah.
other tea and then yogi tea. I'm like, I think I still have some from back then. And the kettle chips.
Yeah.
That guy was one of the followers here. I'm like, all that got funneled into 3HO? That's fascinating to me.
That guy's kids are probably like sitting pretty.
Oh, well,
No, where's all
they
this
gave
money?
all the money. Remember they signed
No,
off on, no,
this
I don't
money's
know if he
gone.
signed off all his
I
money.
don't think these kids got the money.
Well, whoever Yogi Bhajan's kids, then I don't know whoever's kids.
We haven't gotten there yet.
We need to find Yogi Bhajan's kids. We need to like look them up.
Do a podcast.
Well, we don't know if he has kids. This is first episode of the documentary. So
I mean, he certainly had a lot
this-
of women around him.
And as always, we're always dissecting what is on screen and what is portrayed to us. As people in the real world, we don't know who they are and what they do. So we're basing on the articles and everything that we find. Okay.
That's actually a good point because no, that's a great point. That's Kundalini it right now.
Breath of fire.
Am I supposed to breathe fast?
That's Lamaze. Don't do that.
Yeah, so 3/4 of the way into this episode, of the way in, Shabnam, you're totally right. They bring in the breath of fire, and it's supposed to rejuvenate. It's supposed to be like the breath, like it's supposed to be the magnum of Zoolander, the look, at the end of it where he busts out magnum. Breath of fire is supposed to be the ultimate breath, but they only talk about it once, and she said that like it actually changed her life when she got there. But I'm not sure. I've never done yoga before, really. You didn't get that?
I don't get it. I've done breath of fire many times. It was a nice breath. I'm not gonna lie, but it wasn't life-changing breath.
You got some good oxygen?
Do it for us.
I got some good oxygen. Like even right now when I did it, I feel calmer. I feel good. I feel a little more alive. But did it change my life?
Breath work is important, everybody who's listening. Do take a breather. Take a deep breath in general. You don't
it feels
have to do
good.
Yoga,
it feels good. Changed my life? No. I still live in the same place. I still have the same job. I still have the same podcast. It didn't change my life.
They started these marketing campaigns with the businesses that they have under them. Articles written up in the LA Times, the BBC, Harper's Bazaar, Vogue, glowing reviews, the book Invincible, Kundalini Royalty. That's who Katie started to become. And I feel like it's that attractiveness to a practice. We get repackaged for the new generation, the global branding, the capitalism. So this is where I think about the money that comes into it, is that you found a startup, you started it up, you found a need in the hippie generation, and then you can repackage it for the modern generation as well. So Katie did really reinvent that practice to make it sexy and marketable, especially in the social media of that culture taking a foothold in the 2010s. Really brought to life this practice and bringing people over. It was interesting to me because it's like, what happened in this last decade?
Yeah,
I think it's easier to like do scams and cults have existed forever, right? But like with social media, if you're able to be like, you can have an authentic personality on social media, but you can be so inauthentic in real life. So she took advantage of it. It's obvious. So they start showing off all her business accolades through Instagram, and then HBO starts to kind of show you what's going to come in the next 3 episodes as the episode winds down.
And one of the things she says is that, I mean, Yogi Bhajan gave me this name, Guru Jagat. Some people think that I made it up myself. That would be weird. And everybody starts laughing. Like I'm like, thinking of my own name. And then they cut to the hero of the entire documentary, I presume, Philip DeSilip uncle. And he says that like, so when did she name herself that? And they're like 2012. And then he's like, Guru Jagat died in like 2004. So there's no way he could have given her that name.
I like this like mini fact checking they go through. It's like, we got the historian right here. We might as well ask him.
Yeah. And it's pretty crazy. That's all they needed. That's what they needed. Because for 47 minutes, 45 minutes or whatever as it goes on, you can tell that something's about to drop. And you can tell like she ran some sort of a scam. But it's almost his first line. He pulled no punches, and he's just like, "Let me hit you with some simple arithmetic." Nah,
it's just straight.
She's a phony.
Just straight facts. There's no. You can't BS this guy. Like he's just straight up.
Yeah,
because the answers are very short, And so it's like, yeah, short and sweet. What else do you want? I did appreciate him doing that. We also meet Haley. So Haley is the author of the Vanity Fair article. So we're getting towards the end of this episode. She actually interviewed Kundalini Katie before she passed away. She had passed away in 2021, and Haley's spidey sense went off. Elements of the Sikhism being misrepresented, so her spidey sense was going off. In episode 1, we're just setting up the scene, getting the backgrounds on everybody involved, and then they hit you with like, before he died in 2012, she was the chosen one, and they sprinkled it throughout, right? So she's the chosen one. The chosen name was given to her by
and she chose
Yogi.
herself,
and she essentially chose herself.
Yeah.
Delulu.
The episode ultimately ends back to where we started. Kundalini Katie saying reality is a trance. I like those types of bringing it back to the beginning. I always love that about
circle?
art. And
you like full circle moments?
I love full circle moments in any type of entertaining content. And I don't like these types of documentaries to begin with, but I appreciate the artwork that goes into it. The art.
You don't like these types of documentaries to begin with?
I don't. I think it's just I'm kind of over it. I just don't feel it's always a
It's always a what?
It's always a white community. And they're always taking an extreme measure of some spiritual practice, from the Eastern world, and they just take it to the nth degree. Now, there may be one Desi person involved in it who starts the whole thing.
So when you say these documentaries, you mean cult documentaries?
He means these white people.
It's called white people documentaries.
Okay. But there's a lot of cult white people documentaries that are about like other non-brown stuff.
Yeah, white people do to themselves too, man.
Yeah,
the way down.
So I don't like that. I just don't. It's always
you don't like cult docs.
It's the formula of them is always the same.
The formula of
no, I mean that's what we're talking about though. Like that's what we've been saying. Like this is a tale as old as time. You get a bunch of users. Doesn't matter how the users come, whether it's like through some spiritual thing or you pull on some other heartstring or it's a financial motive. People want community and people just want to like get together and then
they get exploited.
I'd be curious to know if there's more cults in the modern times in the US, because I think there's something to be said about older cultures. This is a country of immigrants, even white people, obviously, right? This is a country of immigrants and culture developing over time. There's not as much community, at least in modern times, especially in big cities, right? So I wonder if we're more susceptible, and that's why there's more people searching for that, like connection and community, as opposed to in Eastern cultures, for example, like, people have other problems. They have like major anxiety and mental health issues because there's too much community and too much competition and too much requirement of conformity. So that's a different problem, but they're certainly not searching for community. Right. So maybe this is, I'm just saying potentially, and if listeners want to tell me I'm wrong, email us. I'd love to hear it. If there's like cults all over the place, all over the world, I'd love to know it. But I wonder if just this modern time in this country, we're more susceptible because we have less long-standing community roots.
And this is why I love this podcast, because I may say something and we'll have a nice little discussion for it. Thank you, Shabnam, for enlightening me a little bit more or giving me more information to talk about that.
But like I just, because you said you hate cult documentaries.
Yeah. And I'm listening to you is like, okay, help me deconstruct why I hate cult documentaries.
You don't like people taking, they're taking advantage of these people. Like that's...
Yeah. I mean, I don't like
the
feel
good.
Either.
Yeah. Like it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But I wonder if like maybe you don't like it because you're Desi and you're used to having too much community. So you're like, why the hell would you do this? Because you're not lonely enough.
Too much
we're never lonely. Many times in my life, I've wished I could be lonelier, but we have the opposite problem.
Well, yeah, I know some other friends that just want to be left alone. They're like, I don't give a rat's ass about the community. I want to be left alone. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
There are definitely people like that. On the face of it, it doesn't feel good. it is surprising. Maybe that's just a culture of like me not vibing with a whole lot of true crimes that are out there. Maybe the scam, like the credit card scam type of ones. Those ones I can stomach because nobody's dying in it, right? There's
Well, what about Sweet Bobby? Like,
Sweet
you love
Bobby,
that
definitely.
story.
It was I don't love the story in real life, right? I think in
Okay.
my brain, I compartmentalize it as a piece of fiction because I don't know them in real life, right? And so that part of it, I kind of step. It's South Asian, first of all, is Daisy, right? So Daisy, relatable, maybe because I got catfished for like a year or whatever, 6 months to a year. So it's relatable in that, and I wanted to hear her take on her story. And though her actions frustrated me, it still was listenable because nobody died, right? There was no murder or true crime.
Oh,
And
I don't know.
I mean, that's
I
what
don't know
true
what
crime is
happens
about.
here. I don't know if people die or not.
Yeah,
I
we don't
think
know
they're.
yet. It's gonna be
Yeah,
interesting.
we
I mean,
don't know.
Katie Kundalini dies, but I think I don't know why she dies. I just assumed, and she's the bad one. Not
And
that
and
that
and,
you know.
and this story or like the retreat or Bikram yoga, like what upsets me is that you're taking a religion or a practice or spirituality from, and granted, it was started by these Desi guys, right? Just trying to make a buck off of it. But it's you have this and you exploit it to a different culture. That sort of exploitation is just like so bothersome to me because I've heard about it before with
So I think it's okay.
yoga practices.
So there's obviously like a good tradition in yoga, right? There's good,
Yeah, it's
like
taking the good
old,
stuff. It's taking the
solid
yeah,
tradition that then some kind of chalak manipulative uncle makes himself more important and makes a fraud of it and brings it to a whole bunch of, yes, white people. Because the reality is, when you're talking about 60s and 70s, like I said, most of the people that have wealth and time to like invest money into this and discover about themselves is going to be white people. There wasn't like a bunch of rich desis at that time here, or rich black people. No, those are people are trying to survive and like make a living and figure out their life. So the people that are going to have time to like think about their feelings and what kind of breath they're taking, that's mostly going to be rich white people, right? It's going to be rich people and it's going to be mostly white people, right? And then Katie, she's just like narcissistic little Karen that decided to be like feminism and take advantage of people even more.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
that's sad. Ah.
Thanks for that breathing exercise. Well put, Shabnam. I think you articulated way better than how I was processing it, but those were the words I was thinking, and that's why you're a lawyer and I am not.
No, that's not my lawyer. That's my years of therapy being like, why do you feel frustrated?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get culted tonight. Let's get out of here.
All right. Well, we have more episodes. This is a 4-part series, Breath of Fire. It's on HBO Max. Check out the first episode. It's already live. Obviously, you've listened to us thus far. So get ready for episode 2. And that's it for this episode. This is your captain speaking, Captain Ron.
And Shebnam.
Yogi Samim.
And we'll catch you on the next episode of Jai After Dark.
Dude, throw that jingle on. Let's get out of here.
I take my leave. Let's go.
Later. This episode was produced, edited, marketed, and created by Shubnam, Captain Ron, and Samim of Jai After Dark LLC in association with Great Pods.